that is great to go back to. And I saw a lot of you kind of going, like, yeah, I got this, and I love that.
Is that posted online too?
It's on the
PowerPoint.
like separate. I don't know if I have it separately, but it's on the PowerPoint.
Okay, you can just link to it somewhere.
Just like click on
You
the
just
title.
download the PowerPoint. Have you not downloaded PowerPoint before? So you just just click on the link that says click here on the PowerPoint, and then and if you want me to go through it,
You can also just view it through Canvas too, so
Yeah.
you can do the view mode and then just click on that title and it'll bring you to the
Or it's
conference
Khan
video
Academy. You
title.
can just go to Khan Academy.
you could go to Khan Academy and do long-term potentiation. But it's all there, and I don't remember if I extracted that one out there, and I can. It's easy to do. Amber.
Besides just repeated stimuli, making this long-term potentiation, there's other things that come into play too that stimulate that ability, right? Like if you really enjoy something you're learning, it's going to speed up the process.
Sure. There's because that will keep, and part of that is that it will just keep you wanting to do that and create more of an excitatory response. So certainly the limbic system and that emotional, your history, past experiences, all that stuff will help strengthen or not strengthen.
So there's not like some chemical that you can help learn to stimulate to make your brain think that
Oh,
like
there
like
are
chewing gum when you do homework.
There are lots of different hormones and chemicals that are released that like human growth hormone. There are different hormones that are released in addition that can stimulate learning and memory. And I'm trying to remember the name of one right now that is. Did you read Spark?
I was gonna read it, but I gotta wait till summer.
They talk about, they call it the miracle grow of the brain. So anyway, there are certain chemicals that certainly will enhance the process. Yeah, it's good, really good point. All right, good. We're going into a new section. Do you want to? I think we can do this, and then we'll take a break in about 5 minutes or so. Okay. So this last section, I don't have this on a slide, but letter C says, and it really kind of goes with this increased contact between astrocytes and neurons. This last letter C on your handout says role of support cells. This is directly from your book. I wanted to pull it out because I thought it was a good way to describe how these glial cells are helpful. Rats raised in an enriched environment show increased contact between astrocytes and neurons versus rats in a standard cage. So an enriched environment just means lots of things to play with and to see and do and to exercise. So it suggests that non-synaptic transmission of information is important in neuroplasticity. Remember that glial cells aren't synaptic; they're non-synaptic, but they do have some connection. They have these little end feet that can help share information. It's not synaptic, but it is supportive. And so it's just saying, it's just reinforcing this idea of how important glial cells are and how glial cells in long-term potentiation are just as important of a part as the excitation itself. Good. All right. So that is, in a nutshell, how learning and memory occur at a cellular level. And so now we need to look at what this all means to us in terms of recovery. So cellular recovery from injury. Some neurons can regenerate their axons, and we know that from which system? The peripheral or central nervous system?
Peripheral.
Peripheral nervous system can regenerate, right? And so some neurons, that's why it says some, can regenerate their axons, and we call it sprouting. We'll look at different ways that they recover in just a moment. During an injury, destruction of a cell body usually means cell death. And so there are ways that we can actually recover function given this problem that the neuron's just going to go away. So let's take a look at what that might look like. First of all, before we do that, Wallerian degeneration, as a review, is what happens when there is damage to a cell. Here's axon lesion. Here's a normal cell. And then when you have that axon lesion, Wallerian degeneration describes what happens in the area, the part that has been disconnected from the body. And so the myelin sheath breaks down, everything, you get muscle fiber atrophy because you're not getting that connection anymore. And the postsynaptic cell will, which is this area right here, right, so it's a muscle, is going to degenerate.
Causes of this, or how is it different than just having like a peripheral injury?
That's what this
That's
is.
okay.
Yeah, that's what it is. And they can happen in all ways. You can have just myelin damage. You can have an axonal crush injury, which doesn't quite sever. You can have a severance, laceration. Yeah. An assortment of ways.
Yeah.
All right. So, keeping in mind that's really how this is looking when there's an injury.
Will this
Here.
happen just from not using it?
Well, you get disuse atrophy to muscles. You certainly get disuse, but it won't get Wallerian degeneration unless there's some sort of damage to the nerve itself. So sprouting comes in an assortment of options, and so here is A, B. Here is before your injury. Collateral sprouting, you'll see that this is showing that the second neuron presynaptically, there was an injury to that, so following the death of one presynaptic neuron, you get sprouting where this neuron now connects and allows this postsynaptic neuron to stay viable, that connection to stay viable. So that's one way that we can regenerate even if the cell dies. Then we have regenerative sprouting. So this is collateral sprouting, and then letter B is showing you before injury damage to a postsynaptic neuron. Then you would just say, well, I'm gonna power up what's remaining. So it still wants to be viable. So the presynaptic neuron that lost its postsynaptic neuron is now going to join in with the remaining postsynaptic neuron. Okay, that's called regenerative sprouting. Let's see. So functional regeneration occurs mostly in the peripheral nervous system, and that's what we know because it does regenerate partly due to nerve growth factor that is in Schwann cells and is unfortunately, weirdly, not in oligodendrocytes. So that is one of the main reasons this neural growth factor is critical to the process of regeneration. Recovery growth is super slow, and this is why if you've ever had surgery and gotten like a little surgical nick, it takes a while for that to come back, or carpal tunnel or any kind of peripheral nerve injury, it takes a while for it to come back. And so nerve growth is about 1 millimeter a day, or up to 2.5 centimeters, about an inch a month. So 2.5 centimeters, about an inch a month, 1 millimeter a day, very, very small. So if it's a small injury or a large injury, it's going to make a difference in how the recovery looks. So this doesn't just happen overnight. It takes a while, and then you have to, when you've regenerated, then you have to strengthen the connection, right? You gotta, and that's probably part of the healing process too. And then lastly, CNS lesions are reversible due to the lack of nerve growth factor, plus other issues dealing with microglia and oligodendrocytes interference, which we'll talk about here in a moment. I'll give you a little break here in a moment, but we'll talk about that. But CNS neurons cannot regenerate their axons. That's why with multiple sclerosis, we talked about that in chapter 2, it is non-regenerating. That's why it's a chronic illness versus Guillain-Barré is a peripheral nerve injury, and it can recover. So I'm going to stop there. There are a few things we'll talk about with stem cells and things like that, but the general idea is peripheral nervous system can regrow, sprout, etc. Central nervous system, not so much. Okay, take a little break.